Okay, pull back. If we can succeed at, here comes a wolf, and I take an axe and I plant it in his head, and he dies, and I take his hide. Like, if that, just something that simple, you feel like, yeah. You feel good about it. Then when we're fighting giants or dragons, like, you know, that's much easier.
I might switch the camera move on this one, though.
And we looked at the visual experience. The visual experience for us needed to be more immediate, needed to be more like I'm there in the world.
For certain kill moves, you're gonna see that the camera's gonna slow down, pop into third person.
There's a lot of fun.
I think you're bleeding.
Going to some cinematic perspective quickly and watching your character do something really cool.
We wanted you to be able to see the sword shove through their torso and come out the back like, I'm being a real badass. Like, I'm going to slaughter people, creatures, whatever is out there, I'm gonna slaughter it.
Tim Lamb had my favorite name for it, which was Violens. Cinekill was the other one. So we've had all these different names. I mean, any month there was a different name. So I think this month's name is Kill Cam, and I don't think we'll change it. We're getting toward the end. That's Claff the wizard. He's dual wielding.
The key to combat in Skyrim is being able to wield weapons and spells in both hands. So that's a new thing for us.
One of our big mantras going into the game is you are who you play. And a lot of that is, what are you gonna put in your hands?
You know, dual wielding now means, well, I can have a spell in this hand and a sword in this hand. Or I can have a spell in this hand and the same spell in this hand, and what does that do? Oh, guess what? It does something even more powerful. And so that all plays into how the combat plays out.
So this is the final state where, like, the beams fade away?
And then this was the current test of the Skull Corruption cast. Basically, I've hidden the projectile.
It's too bad we don't do more of this burning stuff.
Really? 10,000 times more than Oblivion already.
The whole dual controller thing we're doing came from the initial magic design.
With the spells, we knew immediately from the beginning we wanted to get something that was more of a wizard duel rather than just, you know, can I throw fireballs quicker than you can throw fireballs? Could we make it actually feel like something?
So we wanted to be able to have two magic guys go at it, you know, in a really good, strategic, fun, and exciting way, like we can do with melee combat. We've also added new ways for the spells to be delivered.
And so the way we treat fire now is it hits and it spreads, and it can spread a bit and do damage, and you can actually just take your fire spell and lay it on the ground, let guys run through it.
And we really spent a lot of time, you know, focusing on magic this game, you know, just a ton more effort into, you know, all the unique spells and their visuals.
The area effect is in, the casting art is in. With the magic system added to the mix here in Skyrim, almost a third of the gameplay is involving special effects being thrown at people.
That's what I always imagined this room to be like, especially when the wizards start going with their spells.
Forget the numbers and how much it kills guys. A lot of times you find a new spell and no one's around, you set it off.
No, your damage resistance is determined by your armor.
Right.
And your perks and other stuff that might fold into that. So in this case, admittedly, the player will have to trust that we are doing what we say we are doing. We've always been very big in the Elder Scrolls on dynamic growth of the character. Every single one of our games in the series has had this idea that when you do something, you get better at it.
In Skyrim, the game adapts to what you're doing. That was one of the reasons why we got rid of classes.
I won't leave Skyrim alive!
And you decide what your character is just by going out and doing that stuff.
Depending on, you know, what weapon you're using and, you know, whether you do any damage, you're going to get a certain amount of skill usage, and then that's going to build up until you reach that threshold, and then your skill will increase. At that point, once you've increased enough skills, then you level up.
You know, same thing with wizardry. Start casting spells, you'll get better at casting spells. So in an ideal environment, you don't have to think about what it is you're trying to do. You're not watching to see, oh, how can I make my character do this or that? You just play. And the game responds. The game responds by letting you become those things.
Every time you level up, you get to pick a perk. And the perks are what really defines your character. The definition of what a perk is really kind of hard to nail down. It's an advantage or a feature or a gameplay enhancement or an ability or feat that you get as you progress in your skills.
You can actually play the game for a while as a warrior character and then decide, I want to start doing magic stuff. And in the previous games, if you really wanted to do that, you probably wanted to start over. Well, in Skyrim, you can start doing it and you suck at it at first. And then eventually it starts affecting you more, and then you can make up that ground without throwing away however many hours of gameplay you've already done.
In Skyrim, we like to say we are what you play, and it sounds like a catchphrase or whatever, but it really is true.
Who do you want to be? The game is going to have some outlet for that. So on some level, we get ourselves in trouble by trying to make the ultimate fight dragons game, the ultimate be a warrior game, the ultimate mage game, and the ultimate thief game, and the ultimate assassination game, and the ultimate I'm picking plants game. You know, all of these kind of different styles we want to pay off.
Skald supports Ulfric's rebellion, and he doesn't like having a couple of old legionnaires living in his town.
Be responsive to things the player does. When you do something in the game, we want the game to recognize it and respond appropriately to you.
Did I see you talking to Sven? Maybe not. Maybe... Never mind. But I would stay away from him if I were you.
How does that AI tie into a story? Like, how do I get quests from them? How do they become my friends? What will they do for me? What can I do for them? That kind of stuff.
Sometimes it's as simple as having a guard in a city comment on the things that you've done.
Get your thieving hands off that! Off to Bleak Falls Barrow with you. The Jarl is not a patient man.
The game has now responded to something you've done in a way that makes sense and feels like the natural world.
You have no idea how much data is in this game. Here are some staggering numbers. There are 31 quests in Fallout 3. In Skyrim, there's 244 of these. Things like collecting dog tags, delivering books, things that we do as objectives right now. And a lot of these repeat because they're radiant. The game is insanely big.
Every Elder Scrolls game has its main quest, and the main quest in Skyrim is unraveling the mystery of the Dragonborn, and so that is definitely your heroic path.
I think I've found someone who can help you with your dragon project.
For us, when we make a good story, we know we've done it when the player is the agent.
Yes, I could use someone to fetch something for me. Well, when I say fetch, I really mean delve into a dangerous ruin in search of an ancient stone tablet.
If we pose an interesting problem, and then we let the player solve it in whatever way he deems fit, that's going to make the cool, interesting story.
If you decide not to do the main quest, there are different quest lines.
My favorite quest line is the Dark Brotherhood quest line. The Dark Brotherhood is the Assassin's Guild. They do the secret ritual ceremony to summon the Dark Brotherhood. And when you join the Dark Brotherhood, you're one of the guys who shows up and goes, who do you need killed? What do you need? I just think that's just really awesome.
We have this open-ended simulation. The games sort of offer this word sort of redemption, where, okay, I'm going to play as a bad guy and do all this bad stuff. I'm going to join the Dark Brotherhood and, you know, maybe join the Thieves Guild and do scummy stuff. You know what? Then I'm going to do the main quest, which is more honorable. And then because you're put in these situations where you're sort of the good guy, you start to feel like that. The big transition in our studio from Oblivion to Skyrim is we never actually had dedicated level designers in Oblivion. We had them on Fallout, and now we have them in Skyrim. And what that means is that when you go into a cave, it's not just art and stuff.
Get me down! It's coming loose. I can feel it.
And before, we did it in a very compartmentalized way, and you would see